On this episode of Rider Jitsu TV, we have Professor Troy Miedema. So tell us about your journey to Jiu-Jitsu black belt, from where you started till now.
Okay, guess I started at my 20-year high school reunion. Ran into some old wrestling buddies of mine and kind of gave me a rude awakening into what jiu-jitsu was. And yeah, from there I went back to Texas and joined a gym the next day. And yeah, I guess the rest is history.
Awesome. When you started Jiu-Jitsu, what was your motivation?
I'd been working out and doing treadmills and whatnot, and uh, after having some kids, I kind of came to the realization that walking on a treadmill or whatever, or riding an elliptical, wasn't really going to do much for me to be able to protect my family and uh, kind of take care of them and fulfill the role that a father is supposed to play. And so, yeah, I kind of wanted to find something to sharpen my skills and just make sure that I would be ready in case the need arose.
Yeah, that's a great thing for sure. That's part of the reason why I joined as well.
Hmm.
So have you noticed along the way, has Jiu-Jitsu crossed over into your personal life?
Yeah, yeah. Jiu-jitsu has a way of getting into all aspects of your life, I guess. I eventually started training with all my kids, and I've taught them jiu-jitsu. Jake is now a purple belt.
Awesome.
Lily is a green belt, and Annie's an orange belt.
That's great.
And yeah, I mean, you kind of make new friends, and um, kind of the things that used to be important to me weren't that important anymore. I used
Yeah.
to enjoy sitting around watching a football game or something, and I don't think I've watched a football game in 10 years. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just, you get busy doing other things. And
Yep.
for me, I'd rather be active than, sitting on a couch somewhere.
Yeah, same here.
Mhm.
So when you first started, how did you handle failure? Like what kept you coming back to the gym?
Oh, well, as anybody that's done jujitsu very long, you'll know failure is a pretty regular part of the journey. You have a lot of days where you feel like you're the hammer, but a lot more where you feel like the nail.
Yep.
And I guess kind of just it goes to a personal attitude of perseverance. You just have to. One of the black belts that I came up under, Dave Blevins, he has a saying, and I'm sure he copied it from somewhere, but it's embrace the suck. And you, you kind of have to do that because, yeah, there's long parts of this where it doesn't feel like you're making any progress at all. But, it's kind of like watching your kids grow up. They're there every day, and it's such an incremental little bit of growth that you can't really physically see it.
Yeah.
But, when you see your nephew or niece or something that you haven't seen in a year, you see that they've shot up, and that's kind of how jujitsu is too. Sometimes it feels like you're not going anywhere, but you just got
Okay.
to trust the process, embrace the suck, and know that it'll come out. You know.
Yeah, that's a great advice. So have there been any barriers to your success along the way?
Oh yeah, that's jujitsu and barrier kind of go together. You like I say, you kind of have good days and bad days, but the trick is to just get up and keep going. Um, I guess the biggest barriers for me have been injuries of one sort or another, and
Yeah.
the older you get, the longer it takes to recover and whatnot, and so those barriers can turn into straight up roadblocks if you don't have the right mindset. And um, you know, I know this is kind of being prepared for white belts or newer practitioners, and uh, one piece of advice I would try to give you is let your body heal, listen to your body. I've had numerous times where I felt something pop or whatever, and I still rolled three more rounds.
Yeah.
And, I ended up paying for it for the next 3 or 4 months and not being able to train at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, listen to your body and tap quick, tap early. It's live another day. They're not giving out any trophies in the training room. So
Along your journey, what's been the toughest time you faced?
I think the toughest time I'd faced on the mats was probably most of my blue belt. I have a wrestling background, and so it was very foreign to me to be on my back and to fight from there and feel like that was an okay place to be.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, that took me a year or two to get over that. Hey, it's okay. And so pretty much for my entire blue belt, I went and laid on my back and got smashed, and uh, you know, and that's kind of the flip side. I like to smash, so by
Yeah.
getting smashed, you kind of figure out, what things really you don't like or what things really work. And um, but yeah, that was a rough couple of years. And like I say, if you don't have perseverance and you don't just make up your mind that you're going to stick to it, it's really easy. I forget the numbers, but blue belt has the highest drop off of any other belt, and it's just you learn enough to be a little bit dangerous, but you kind of get into that spot where you got to do the things that you're not good at,
Mm-hmm.
and for a lot of people, that's difficult to do.
Yeah, definitely. Get into your uncomfortable spots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've learned to be comfortable in an uncomfortable spot, and that's a lot of what jujitsu is.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to collect yourself and take a deep breath and realize, hey, I'm still in this. Things look bleak, but I'm still
Mm-hmm.
alive.
Yep. It's funny you say that because that's one of the things that I tell myself. There was one time when you were crushing me in side control, but I was like actually making it through. I have I'd been tapping, but then I wasn't tapping, and I'm like, hey, I can actually do this. And so I used that. Like, if I can make it through Coach Troy's side control, I can make it through anything. So when you think about leadership, what comes to mind?
um, well, leadership is it's one of those things that it's difficult, I guess, to substantiate exactly what it is, but you kind of know it when you see it. For me, a leader is somebody that's more worried and concerned about others than he is about himself. I'm a Christian, and I try to follow those values. And Christ gave the best example of being a servant, you know,
Sure.
and just putting other needs ahead of his own. And I'd be the first to tell you I'm absolutely horrible at it, but that's what I aspire to. So,
There's been many times I've seen you do that, and it's pretty amazing.
appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Being a leader in the gyms you attend and the jiu-jitsu community in general, what does that mean to you?
Uh, well, I think you know you're kind of setting the standard for what's expected, and try to set an example for people to strive towards as well. Um, inside the gym, um, I try to be very conscientious of people's various physical limitations. Whether it be age or an injury or something like that,
Yep.
and then try to protect those that are struggling, and help them along on the journey. That's to me what leadership is you bring everybody along and make sure that everybody gets to their goal.
Definitely.
And it can take a lot of different shapes on the mat. Sometimes you get a guy that comes in and wants to be a bully, and you got to be the enforcer and let them know that that's not going to be tolerated, that you're not going to let your people just be beat up on. And other times there's the person that's super shy, and you kind of got to coax them out of their shell and help them along. And
Yep.
um, I've seen the whole spectrum of personality types and peoples, and that's one of my favorite things about jujitsu is you can have a CEO of a company and a drug dealer on the mat at the same time, and nobody cares who does what or anything. It's
Yeah.
the mats don't lie, like they say.
Yep.
And when you're in that kind of just physical confrontational thing, you don't have time to think about work or other things. It kind of puts you exactly in the moment, and I think it's a release that a lot of people need. And uh, so, as far as being a leader, I try to just make sure that everybody in the gym is getting an equal shake, and uh, being able to enjoy their part of the journey.
That's great. I'm sure we all appreciate that.
Mhm.
So, who were some of your jiu-jitsu mentors?
Um, well, it's kind of funny for me being an older fella. I'm usually one of the older guys in the room, so you typically think of a mentor as somebody that's older than you and wiser. But that's the funny thing about jujitsu is there's so many people that are wiser and but quite a bit younger than me. So probably my first one would be Carlos Di Santiago. That's the professor that I came up under, and um, he's one of those guys that I hadn't rolled with him in 2 years. We rolled, and he said, "Hey, how come you didn't finish this with your right hand?" He said, "Your wrist is hurting, isn't it?" And yeah, I could have rolled with 100 other people, and nobody would have picked up on that. But
Yep.
just you get those guys that are so in tune, and I think he's forgotten more about jujitsu than I'll ever know. But yeah, he would probably be my first and foremost.
Awesome.
Uh, Secondly, I'm under Mario Esfija right now, and Mario has been a great practitioner for a long, long time, and very skilled. Um, so he's on the list. Marco Hernandez, another guy that I kind of came up with. He's a black belt now, but just one of those guys that I don't think I've ever tapped him, and I don't know that I ever will. He's very good, and but yet he always took the time to stop and show me,
Yep.
what he was doing to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a few short names there, but yeah, no, that's one thing that I love about jujitsu is I've traveled. Oh shoot, I've rolled in probably 10 different states, and yeah, there's jerks out there, but for the most part, everybody that I've met has been very, very nice, and
Hmm.
every gym that I've gone in has been very welcoming, and it's just one thing that's great about the sport.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Professor. What are some of your favorite submissions?
Well, I guess probably. No, I have so many. I don't know. Bravo is one of my favorites. I'm probably most known for the bread cutter.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, those are a couple of my favorites. I like pillow chokes. I like bow and arrow. It's kind of like asking me to name my favorite kid. I like all of them for different reasons.
yep. Do you have any advice for white belts?
Advice for white belts. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that question, and it's kind of like I think about giving my younger self advice. There's so many things that I would say, but I can almost guarantee I wouldn't have listened to it, and I'm pretty confident most of the white belts aren't going to listen to it either, because everybody comes in and they think they know a little bit, but uh, you know hip movement is ginormous, and when you feel like you're Elvis shaking your hips, you're not. You're hardly moving them at all.
Yep.
If you can record yourself, do it and just see the movements, because it looks way different. When an experienced person does it versus a white belt, and that's not knocking white belts because I was a white belt too. But yeah, I remember one lesson where he was telling me to shoot my hips up, and I felt like I was shooting them across the room, and he videoed me, and I barely moved at all, and I went, "Wow, that was
Oh,
dismal." Like,
yeah. That's that's funny, man.
so that's a big one, and then um, like another very hard one to learn is just to tap. Don't don't hold on and get yourself injured, over your pride. If somebody's got you, they got you. Tap, move on, live to fight another day, and
Yep.
take it from an old man that is busted up a little bit because of his pride. Uh, yeah, you'll thank me later if you do it now.
Gotcha. That's great advice. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Let's see. Is there anything that you want to add or talk about?
I guess, just kind of the family atmosphere of jiu-jitsu. Um, a lot of people, especially ex-military and things like that, they're used to the camaraderie of being around like-minded individuals, and you get that with jiu-jitsu. It's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily the same as going to battle, but when you're doing hard things together, you forge a deeper bond than you do with just somebody that you see at lunch or you see at work and wave as you go by. When you're sweating and bleeding with somebody, yeah, I don't know what it is about it, but you develop deeper friendships that mean more. And I think too that people um, kind of know what you're worth. If you're a person that's going to go in and get roughed up one time, and you get pouty and take your ball and go home, you won't make it very long, because there's always somebody tougher. There's always somebody bigger and stronger and faster and better. And um, that's I always was, like I say, coming from a wrestling background, I was always trying to compete. I always wanted to beat the guy or do this or that. And, the longer I do this, the more I realize that you're only competing with yourself. You're trying to make yourself better than you were the day before.
Yep.
And I know that sounds cliche, and you see that all the time, but it's really true. There's a reason they say it, is because it does hold a lot of weight. And, um, that's really become a goal of mine, is just to try to be a better person every day, whether it's physically, mentally, professionally, however. I don't want to stagnate, and I don't want to grow old. I want to keep getting better and better and better. And um, I think this is a great sport to flesh that out in people, and to, I guess, just really teach them how to stick to something. It's tough. It really is, but it's so rewarding. You never would have thought that a stupid piece of little athletic tape would mean that much to you, but when professor hangs that on your belt, it means a lot. It means that they know they've seen you working, and you know that you're progressing too, even when a lot of times you don't feel it. You can't see it, or you don't feel it. You feel like you're flatlining for a while, but you are getting better. I promise you. Keep coming.
Yeah, awesome. What a great answer. Well, thank you very much, Professor. I appreciate you coming on the show, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Awesome. My pleasure. Well, thanks. I hope we didn't bungle it up too bad for you.
Nah, this is great. Great first
Awesome.
episode.
My pleasure. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this interview, let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe for more quality content.